Welcome to this edition of Lions Pride Sports. We are here continuing our interview series. I'm Marina Bach, your host, and joining me today is Lindenwood Rugby's head coach, Billy Nicholas. How are you today, Billy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming on the show, spending your time here with us. So first off, we're going to talk about you've been coaching here at Lindenwood since 2014. So could we kind of have like your background and like who you are, where you came from, because you came from New York, right?
Yeah, so I went to college at SUNY Cortland in kind of middle of New York, and then when I graduated from there, I was teaching in the Bronx for 5 years. So teaching phys ed and health, and then started coaching and playing in New York.
So your background on rugby is, did you play as a collegiate sport or?
Yeah, so I was really big on football growing up, and I always thought that I was going to be this head football coach. But then the area that I taught in, when I was a teacher in New York, we really didn't have too much money for equipment and didn't really have a dedicated field. Yeah, didn't have much money at all. So we found an organization called Play Rugby USA, and they actually were giving out free rugby balls, mouth guards, and just kind of basic equipment, and that's kind of when I started coaching. And then the year I started coaching, I actually started playing. So I didn't start playing until after I graduated college. So I was a late bloomer as far as playing and coaching goes. So I've spent the last, 8 years now pretty much absorbing as much as I can.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So who has been your mentor like throughout this process of you learning rugby and like all the skills and all the technical terms that go with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that's like a handful of people, to be honest with you. I think when I first started out, there was quite a few people in New York that kind of guided me along and kind of mentored me into the sport. And there's quite a few coaches from Old Blue, which is the club I played for and coached for while I was in New York, that have really helped me out along the way. And now the more coaches I meet all over the U.S. and abroad as well have just, it's kind of like they each just give you something different to think about or a different way to think of things, and you kind of add that to your coaching toolbox.
Just with other, like education, like you have your visual people, your physical people, your hands-on, so.
Yeah, I think that really kind of helped me out actually before I got into coaching, is the fact that I was teaching. I think the way I kind of hold my practices and kind of approach the student athletes is from a teaching perspective. So I think my ability to kind of transfer over that knowledge is a little bit easier for me.
Definitely. And then could we just go over like rugby as a sport here in the United States? Like you're saying there's a lot of club sports. There's not a lot of teams?
It's growing.
Okay.
A lot. Yeah, it's growing, and it's really starting at the youth level. There's a lot of organizations, whether in New York or Memphis, and kind of state-based youth organizations, almost in every state, that have really done a massive part to help grow the game. And I think that we're starting to see that at the university level, is that there's now more student athletes looking to come and play, for high-end, top-end teams like Lindenwood. So it's definitely growing quite a bit.
And then can we talk about how you got here to Lindenwood? Who brought you? How
that's a good question. So going into my 5th year of teaching, we finished up and I was coaching a team in New York called the Old Blue Women's Sevens team. It just so happened that the other coach, also from New York, recruited 2 Lindenwood student athletes to play on that team. So Davon Thomas and Tiana Camus came over to play over the summertime, and I had no idea about Lindenwood or where they were from or anything like that, but I got to know them, and they were great people. And throughout the summer, they kind of let me know, like, hey, are you ever going to coach at the university level? And I said, no, I'm fine at the high school. I'm fine coaching women's. I've got a good gig teaching in New York right now. And they told me that towards the end of the summer that a coaching spot was opening up, and that's when I kind of started to give it some more thought and made the jump, and haven't looked back since. It's been a blast being here.
Definitely. So what is the transition between college and then high school? Like, is there a big change in just like their physical, like, and mental state? Like their bodies are just, they bulk up coming to college.
I think when I first started, it used to be kind of just the rugby IQ that was, it was still growing. So we'd get some high school athletes coming into the university level that, it depends kind of where they were coming from, because there's a lot of great high school coaches, but I think the biggest deficit was the rugby IQ, and now you're starting to see more and more high school seniors that have been playing rugby for quite a few years longer. So they're kind of coming in with that knowledge. So I think the big thing for us is, just to get them up to the pace of the game from the high school to college level has been a fun challenge.
That's great. That's great. And then can we just talk about here at Lindenwood some of the outstanding players and that you've had come in here?
Oh gosh, there's been so many.
I know. Yeah.
No, there's been so many outstanding players that have been here, and that could be from just really hard workers and really good leaders that we've had that have helped build up the program and create a great name for it. To players that have been able to be nationally capped for the Women's Eagles, whether it's 7s or 15s programs. And I would say that, we're starting a little Hall of Fame in our locker room now because we've had so many players that have just gone on to do really great things. And I think for us, this past year was kind of our first year that we started to graduate seniors as well, because it's a fairly new program here on campus. So I think, me following along with them and just seeing all the things that they're doing in their personal lives and their professional careers has really, truly been the best benefit out of it all.
Definitely. So you've only been here since 2014.
Yeah.
So how have you helped tremendously this program grow and mature and become nationally recognized throughout?
Yeah, so when I first took over, we were kind of just finding our vision of what we wanted as a program, and I think they brought me in because they wanted to have a really high caliber program, and I think it was definitely a process. It was definitely a growing process. It was a fun one. It was a challenging one. We had I want to say 13 people on the team when I got here. I got hired in September, and we had a tournament 4 days later. So I didn't know any of the players' names yet. I think that was my number one thing. I was like, okay, by this tournament, I'm going to at least know the players' names that are on this team.
Definitely.
And I think half the team was made up of some crossover athletes that really didn't have any rugby experience at all. And I think we grew from that 13. That following year, we actually had a class of 35 students come in.
So it's growing.
Yeah.
Tremendously.
Yeah, so we went from 13 athletes with very little rugby experience to about 60 currently.
That's crazy. Yeah. And then on a personal note, what kind of valuable lessons do you instill in your players?
Yeah, so we talk a lot about character.
Okay.
That's really big for us. So I think, being able to, when things go wrong or things get hectic on the field or in your personal life or professional career, being able to kind of fall back on those values that we have as a program. One of the big ones that we have is jerseys always on. So no matter what you're doing, whether it's here doing an interview or whether it's, out to eat or at the game, that all the players realize that they're representing something larger than themselves. And I think that takes a lot of buy-in from the team, and I think they wear that really well. So I couldn't be more proud of each player that's on the team that's contributed to the program's success. So I'm just kind of watching over it, and they're doing the hard work.
Definitely. And then can we talk about the recruiting process? How do you find girls, or how do you hear about girls and bring them here?
So I think originally, the first year that I was recruiting, I'm pretty sure I flew all over.
Really?
I was pretty
them.
close to getting A-list on Southwest. Let's say that. So I was flying all over the place, trying to go to as many tournaments as I could, establishing relationships with high school coaches to be able to reach out to them, forming that trust that not only can I trust them when they're giving me a recommendation of a student athlete, but they can trust me in that they're going to come to a great program that's going to look out for them both academically and athletically. So I think that was kind of how it started, and now we've had more and more high school students and even juniors start to reach out to us because they've heard about Lindenwood, and it was crazy. I think the first tournament we went to was a Vegas Sevens tournament that we competed in. Our second year was around, and everybody was kind of just like, oh, who's Lindenwood? Where's that? What is it? What's LU? Sort of thing. And I think now when we go to Vegas in only 2 years' time, now it's just like, oh, that's Lindenwood. And you kind of hear the whispers that it's like, are they playing? Which level are they playing at? Like, oh, I really want to go there. And I think just being able to feel that positive energy on the things that the players and the coaching staff here have helped create has been fantastic.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then can we just brag a little bit on you guys and the national titles you guys have gotten and the recognition? Yeah,
so last year was a really big year for us. So the year before last, we finished second in the nation at the USA Rugby Sevens tournament. So that was kind of that left a lasting effect for us and kind of pushed us to work harder. And last year we ended up winning the USA Rugby Sevens national championship. So and then we finished second in the nation for 15. So
you guys are doing great things.
Yeah. Combining those together, no other team in the nation finished highest with that combination. So it's been really good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then your future plans? Are you going to keep staying here at Lindenwood?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Being successful?
That's the plan.
As a coach?
Hope so. Yeah.
So maybe we'll keep you around a little bit?
Yeah, no, that'd be good. I mean, I couldn't be happier, like I said, with the facilities that we have here on campus, there's a reason that the top high school student athletes want to come here in the country. You know, I think I play a little part in that, but I think the support from the administration, the facilities that we have here on campus, just kind of the general atmosphere where, you know, it really is that like Lions support Lions. You'll walk around campus and there's general students, there's athletes, just everybody's just so supportive of one another. So I think it'd be tough for me to not want to keep staying here and doing this. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. That's it for this edition of Lion Pride Sports. Once again, for Billy Nicholas, I'm Marina Bach. Tune in next time as we continue our interview series.